Armstead having fun out there playing with this guy. It'd be hard to pull him out of this lineup right now. And hopefully right now, seriously for Zach Wilson, I hope you sit back right now and take some notes about what leadership is all about.
The Zach Wilson, Mike White situation is consistently getting more fascinating because it's not necessarily as one-sided as you think it is. As a matter of fact, the New York Jets lost this past weekend. Yet for this upcoming week against the Buffalo Bills, Mike White is the starter once again. Why is that? We're gonna break down everything about Mike White's last game, his impact on his teammates, his coaches, how the New York Jets feel about him, and how this upcoming weekend is the biggest game of his career. Yes, I know I said that last weekend, but when you figure out the history between Mike White and the Bills, it makes a lot of sense. Before we get to the content, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we get all that out of the way, work! Guys, currently the economy is in flux. Whether you're dealing with crazy high gas prices or inflation at the grocery store or pretty much anywhere you go, we could all agree on one thing. We could use additional means to try to save us some additional money during these difficult economic times, which is why I partnered with Upside, which is a fantastic app that's consistently saving you money. It's really simple to use. All you have to do is download the free Upside app on the App Store or on Google Play and use my promo code Mikerophone to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. Once you do that, next time you're out and about, say you run out of gas, all you have to do is pull up the Upside app and look at the gas stations that participate in qualifying offers from them. In this will be a gigantic list of the percentage of cash back you could get from particular gas stations, and they also list it in order of proximity to you. Once you choose that, you go to the gas station, you fill up gas, you claim the offer, and you're good to go. In this scenario, I was able to save 30 cents per gallon by using the Upside app. They have nothing to lose. Download the free Upside app, use my promo code Mikerophone to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more, and thank you, Upside, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Guys, I wanted to run a giveaway on this channel for the holidays. I love running giveaways and giving back to you guys because I really have genuine appreciation for you guys giving me the ability to consistently come on this channel and make football content for you guys. Unfortunately, there's some piece of shit bot in my comment section on YouTube, so I can't conduct giveaways on YouTube this year. Hopefully YouTube figures this out. This has been a thing for the past year, and I'm not the only YouTuber dealing with it, yet I am getting DMs from you guys consistently telling me about it. So we're going to be doing our giveaways on Twitter and Instagram this year. If you don't have it, I'm really sorry. I almost forgot to mention that, so my apologies, and without further ado, let's get to this. Because this past weekend, the New York Jets played a very important game versus the Minnesota Vikings. This is without a doubt Mike White's biggest test. The week before, he played against the Chicago Bears, and he torched the Chicago Bears in the rain. I know Zach Wilson was complaining about how windy it was versus New England the week before, so having Mike White come out here and dominate 26 out of 28 for a 78.5% completion percentage, 315 passing yards, and 3 touchdowns was a nice breath of fresh air. And as a result, you had all of his teammates vouching for him. I mean, look no further than the 10th overall pick in this year's NFL draft. He called out the New York Jets offense and essentially called them dog after their loss to the New England Patriots.
Sorry, we out here looking sorry, man. And we're not sorry, so that's why it really hurts. You know, we know that we're better than that. That's why it hurts, because we can do more. And honestly, I feel like they got to put some more trust in the receiver room. I feel like we can go up and make plays, do things, and I don't know if everyone feel that way, but hopefully, by the time we get around next week, everyone feel that way. And we got to have a great week of practice.
This combined with Zach Wilson saying this.
As an offense, though, I mean, when you guys are only able to score 3 points, the defense only lets up 3 points. I mean, do you feel like you let the defense down at all?
No.
Definitely resulted in an interesting conversation. And as a result of the team being frustrated with the fact that Zach Wilson didn't acknowledge that he was the problem, it looks like the New York Jets benched Zach Wilson. Now, we don't know what his future is going to look like. There's a lot of speculation on that. My personal prediction is he's the next quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. Jokes aside, the very next week, after Garrett Wilson called out the offense and Mike White got inserted into the starting lineup, Garrett Wilson's numbers got significantly better. I mean, he had had 5 receptions for 95 receiving yards. He scored 2 touchdowns, and the Jets were able to defeat the Chicago Bears. And shortly after, Garrett Wilson once again commented on why he said what he said following the New England Patriots game and how he didn't really regret it.
I definitely feel like it did. I didn't mean any harm to anyone, by saying it, and I don't think anyone took it that way. Luckily, honestly, I feel like people was happy I said it.
And the most recent thing we have from Garrett Wilson is a remarkable quote about Mike White despite the New York Jets losing to the Minnesota Vikings. Garrett Wilson had this to say about Mike White.
He was out there controlling the huddle and never letting the moment get too big, man. It was cool to see, looking back on it now. It's cool to think about. So, I know that I go to work for that boy. He got something special about him.
And to be honest, this is nothing new. We've consistently seen clips of how much the New York Jets players love Mike White. From his post-game interview after defeating the Chicago Bears, all the way to one of the more disrespectful things I've seen towards Zach Wilson, whether you want to admit it or not. And maybe I'm being a drama queen, so you could let me know in the comment section down below. But on top of this, prior to the New York Jets game, the entire New York Jets team showed up in Mike White merch. I'm not even kidding. Now you might be thinking, Mike, the New York Jets, they lost to the Minnesota Vikings. Why isn't Zach Wilson the starter? I don't think statistics paint the picture here. If you look at the statistics with Mike White versus the Minnesota Vikings this past weekend, he went 31 of 57, which is crazy. That's literally more than double the amount of times he had to drop back versus the Chicago Bears. Despite this, he threw for 369 yards, nice, and had 2 interceptions. But again, this is one of those instances where the stat sheet doesn't tell the whole story. Instead, you have to really look at the throws this man made in this game to understand why his team loves him so much. I mean, you have this one throw that we already showed you to Garrett Wilson, which just implies tremendous chemistry between your first round pick this year and your quarterback, which I think is one of the most underrated but most important features and aspects of being a quarterback in the NFL. You need to make sure consistently develop chemistry and a rapport with your wide receivers and your teammates. When you have Garrett Wilson coming out here and saying that he will literally go to war for you, that's saying something. When you have your teammates wearing Mike White merch and essentially choosing you over the number 2 overall pick, that's also saying something. And when it's 4th and 10 with the game on the line and you're throwing this type of throw to Corey Davis to preserve the game and put you in a situation, give you a fighting chance to win the game, clearly you have a special quarterback on your hands. Well, you might be thinking to yourself, Mike, I don't understand. This video is about saving Zach Wilson. How is Zach Wilson going to be saved? I know I said this past weekend. Maybe I'm the NFL's greatest hype man. I don't know. Last weekend, Mike White faced off against a very challenging opponent in the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, a team that without a doubt is in contention for the top 2 seeds in the NFC playoff race. And to be honest, given his situation, given his circumstances, given how this is his second start of the year in week 13, I would give him a B or a B minus. I mean, any other man that was a 5th round pick that is making his second start of this year may have folded in that type of situation, but not Mike White. But what is going to be very fascinating is his upcoming opponent. If you remember last year, Mike White also had a little bit of a run himself, starting with his game versus the New England Patriots, and then his incredible breakout game where he threw for over 400 passing yards and completed 37 of 45 for 3 touchdowns versus the eventual AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. Eventually, however, the wheels fell off when he faced off against the Buffalo Bills. In that game, he got intercepted 4 times. He had a QB rating of a 33.4, and he only completed a little bit more than half of his completions. And although as of this video, Zach Wilson has no shot of playing in that game at all whatsoever because he is going to be inactive versus the Buffalo Bills, if Mike White faces the Buffalo Bills once again and performs this horribly, there's a chance that Zach Wilson will get one more shot for this upcoming season. I mean, that's at least what happened last year. But I'll tell you what I could really get behind. It seems like the player that is worth developing at this point isn't necessarily Zach Wilson, it's a player that is currently 27 years old in Mike White. I mean, just look at his his reaction to the Buffalo game, saying, "I think the biggest thing I've learned just from my playing experiences last year was how to handle success, because the Cincinnati game, my first start, went so well. And then Indy, I had the injury, and then Buffalo did not go so well. It's learning from the Buffalo game. Mainly it's just not trying to play hero ball, not trying to win the game with every throw, and just playing within the offense with whatever the play call is, whatever the defense is dictating. I have to do with the ball and just let the rest kind of take care of itself." Bear in mind, he suffered an injury versus the Colts the week before, but it doesn't look like he's really using that as an excuse in this instance. And it also makes sense because I think this is what the Jets want Zach Wilson to learn. Mike White would then say, "I think that's what any young quarterback has to learn, and especially in the NFL when guys are so talented and this is the best of the best. You can get away with that in college, but in the NFL, not so much." So last year, Mike White had a really good first 3 games, and then his 4th start versus the Buffalo Bills didn't go so well. And I mean, I guess you can't really count the Colts game. This year, he's already had 2 starts. He looked really good in those 2 starts, despite not being able to win the Minnesota Vikings game. His 3rd start's against the Buffalo Bills. And I feel like depending on the outcome of this game, depending on his performance, it could dictate a lot for the New York Jets moving forward. The schedule is a little bit more challenging than it looks at face value. The New York Jets go up against the Buffalo Bills, and then they take on the streaking Detroit Lions, the incredibly underrated Jacksonville Jaguars, the Cinderella story of the Seattle Seahawks, before finishing against the dominant Miami Dolphins. It's really interesting because there's a lot of directions that this season could go for the New York Jets. If you're a Jets fan, what do you want to happen? Do you want Zach Wilson to eventually return and be the starting QB? Do you think he will ever be able to develop into the player that the Jets are hoping he'd be, or hoping he was when they selected him with the number 2 pick? Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.